Hi, I'm Dr Meg Roberts. I'm one of the A&E consultants at Lincoln County. I've worked here since March. I moved over from Liverpool. Really wanted to come over to Lincolnshire. I'd actually heard great things. An absolutely fantastic team of people. The most dedicated I've ever met, who work really well together. I work within the clinical areas, providing care direct to patients. I supervise the junior doctors on a daily basis and also our nurse practitioners. The team that we have, I've never met such a bunch of incredibly dedicated, caring individuals who go above and beyond every day to serve the community. Okay, so we're at the front door to accident and emergency. This is where, if patients decide to come into the hospital requiring emergency treatment, they come in through this door into our reception and waiting area. When patients bring themselves to require treatment, this is where they book in, this is their first port of call. They'll be seen by a triage nurse who will ask them about their problem, assess the priority of their condition and get people seen and initial treatment sorted, such as pain relief. Depending on what the triage nurse finds, what patient will tell them that the problem is, people will be streamed to either a minors or a majors area. Minors is where we see things like sprained ankles, minor broken bones or open wounds. If patients come in having been brought here by an ambulance, actually they use a different entrance to the A&E department. So they come in, unload from the ambulance here and then come in through this other set of doors which leads straight into the majors area. The resuscitation area is here primarily to deal with the sickest patients who present to A&E. That will include things like trauma calls, patients with severe septicemia, heart rates that are too fast, too slow, cardiac arrests. If the paramedics have told us that they're coming in, there will be a doctor and nurse waiting for them in here so that they don't actually have to wait for the processes in A&E to book in before they receive treatment. So this is where we'd assess patients with things like chest pain, abdominal pain. That's the emergency phone going off now, which means that a resuscitation is probably coming in. There can be some crossover. Unfortunately in medicine not everything's black and white. But generally the triage system will have identified patients who have simple conditions such as the sprains and strains that go over to minors, and the more complex cases will be seen over here. Now, patients can come to ambulatory care via a variety of sources. GP referrals, who it's anticipated may well go home, come here. We also take patients from accident and emergency through to the ambulatory care area for assessment. In addition to that, they also provide services such as IV antibiotics, where patients come in each day rather than having to spend their time in hospital having an admission. If you think about it, in a patient's life, an emergency attendance is a really big thing. It's one of their lowest points of their life when they feel most stressed, most vulnerable. Every single patient through that door has trusted me to tell me their story at the most challenging time of their life and then ask me for help, and that's a really good thing. This is a place where life is at its most raw. However, that's what the team's there for. We have a lot of support within the hospital for our staff, and we're working a lot with engagement and support at the minute to improve that further. So yes, of course there are difficult times, but we talk those through as a team, we support each other through those times, and you know, it's not so much a case of it being a challenge for us. We need to think about the families of patients concerned in those things as well. There's a very, very small proportion of patients who attend A&E who don't understand or don't seem to understand that we're here to help them. Now, by the nature of an emergency attendance, people arrive at their most stressed, at their most vulnerable, and sometimes that comes out as aggression. I qualified as a doctor in 2002, so I've now had 14 years of training within my job through emergency medicine, from a junior doctor to the consultant where I am now.
On a day-to-day basis, if you're coordinating, that means I am in charge of the nursing side of the department, making sure that the patients are safe, making sure that there's a good flow through the department, making sure patients are sent to their appropriate places, either discharged home or sent down to the ward in a timely fashion, so we don't get any build-up in the department, any delays, anything like that. So we can get some quite upsetting episodes, patients that quite poorly, but obviously, we do our best to make sure everybody's looked after appropriately. I mean, I'm not going to say it doesn't affect you, because it does, but I think you have to try and be professional, and you have to try and kind of overcome it to the best you can. Obviously, be empathetic towards your patient as much as you can, but obviously try not to take it home with you, and you kind of have to leave it at the door as much as you can, obviously, because otherwise it can get a bit too much. But I think a lot of the nurses that are working here have been doing it for a long time, so you kind of, to some extent, you do get used to kind of dealing with upsetting situations in your own personal way. And we're a very good team, we're very supportive, so we look after each other as well. If anybody's struggling, we'll all help them out.
So I'm one of the junior sisters, so I sometimes I coordinate the department, and then other times I'm clinical, so I'm working with the nurses and supporting them, and then obviously looking after the patients as well. Probably make flow through the hospital a little bit better. I think that's quite an impact on patients. When we haven't got beds to move patients into, it impacts the patients that are coming into the department.
I think in terms of recruitment of medical staff to Lincolnshire, there have been problems, and we do struggle to recruit here. Unfortunately, I think Lincolnshire remains a bit of a hidden gem. I've chosen to move over here. My family moved over here, my parents moved over here a few years ago, and that's how I discovered what a wonderful place it is. I mean, nowhere else in the world could you drive into work seeing the red arrows flying, and on the way out see a barn owl coming all the way along with you on the road. It's a beautiful place, the people are friendly, and I think we just need to spread that message that it's a great place to come and live and work. In terms of, Lincolnshire itself, obviously the hospital's had a bit of bad press over the past few years with some fairly major issues. I would just like to get the message out there that things have evolved, lessons have been learned, things have changed dramatically in the past few years, so please judge us on today as opposed to 3 years ago.
Challenging, unpredictable, but a great team.
Friendly, we're a very friendly team, very compassionate, and I'd say very caring.
Exciting, challenging, awesome.